the mid-sized electric family SUV class is one of the most competitive out there. There are so many good options available, but until now there has been a very notable player missing, and that is Toyota. But Toyota has decided to finally change that with this, the BZ4X. Now, this costs from around about £44,000 up to £53,000. You can have it with front or four-wheel drive, and it comes with a 71.4 kilowatt-hour usable battery capacity, which gives it an official WLTP range of between 257 and 317 miles. So that all makes it very, very competitive with most of the cars in this class, but particularly with this, the Skoda Enyaq iV, our favourite of the big family electric SUVs. The Skoda Enyaq won our electric SUV mega test back in 2021, and it has remained our favourite of the battery crossovers ever since. It is also available with rear or four-wheel drive, while it offers range from 246 miles up to 338 miles. Now, the small battery Enyaq will cost you from around about £43,000, but we have got the large battery 82 here, and it is in loft trim, which means that this exact car costs around about £47,000, almost exactly what this Toyota costs, and this is a front-wheel drive Motion BZ4X. So the question is, which one's best? Well, that is what we're here to find out. The Skoda definitely wins when it comes to boot space, offering a whopping 585 litres of space compared to the Toyota's 452. Both offer rear seats that fold in a 60-40 split and fold mostly flat, although it must be said that the Skodas do leave a step up between the boot floor and the rear seats. So the space in the back here in the Toyota is pretty remarkable. This is one of the benefits of having a bespoke EV platform, which is what the BZ4X has got. So this isn't a platform that any of Toyota's standard combustion or hybrid cars share. It is designed especially for battery cars, and the benefit of that is you can have the wheels right out at the far corners, you don't have to have a conventional shaped car, and you can generally package more room into the inside of the car. And the result is this, is that you've got like limo sorts of legroom in the back of a mid-sized family SUV, which is great. I suppose my only quibble is that actually the floor feels quite high in the Toyota, slightly higher than in the Skoda actually. So to an extent, if you've got really long legs, your knees feel like they're sort of bent up a bit. But even so, I think it's really comfy back here. You get your centre armrest, your vents, and you do get charging in here, which is good. I do think some of the plastics feel a bit scratchy back here, just sort of around here. I don't think that's going to bother anybody, but that's kind of, you know, as it is. And I would also say that it just feels really dark because it's very sort of black in here. All the materials are black, and also the windows. It's quite a high shoulder line on the car. But however you look at it, the space and the comfort back here is absolutely brilliant. I never thought I'd be saying this, but there's actually less legroom in here than in the Toyota, but it is so marginal, and I have to put this in context because this is still such a spacious rear passenger area. You've got masses of legroom, more than you would in a comparable petrol or diesel SUV. Plus, of course, you get your centre armrest, you get your cup holders, there are some vents here. The only thing I would say is that there doesn't seem to be any charging in the back seats, which is not great because I think that's becoming pretty standard on a lot of these cars. Other than that, honestly, this is still going to be one of the most comfortable sort of rear passenger spaces you can get in this class. As long as you go for the Motion trim in the Toyota, you really do get all of the equipment you want, including heated seats, which, by the way, is missing on the Skoda. But everything else, they're quite similar on equipment. So you get your electric seat adjustment with lumbar, you get, well, like I said, really everything that you want. I do actually quite like the interior in the Toyota. I like this sort of funky sort of cockpit style dials up here, the steering wheel. It's a slightly unconventional driving position because you have to have the steering wheel quite low to avoid obscuring some of the readout up there. But even so, I think pretty much everybody's going to be able to get comfortable in here. The materials, I really like the textured sort of textile they've got up on the dash. That's very cool. Again, I'll say it just feels quite dark in here, but otherwise pretty good, I think. And let's talk infotainment, because Toyota have actually done a really good job with this, and it's got everything you want, including your Android Auto wireless CarPlay. It's got your inbuilt nav with charger search function. It's very easy to use, and joy of joys, separate aircon controls, which are all pretty straightforward. It's still touch sensitive down here, but it's all there and it's not built into the screen, so I like that. Plus loads of storage, big cubby down here. There's no glove box in this car, which is a bit peculiar, but you do have this space down here. Get your handbook in there. Slightly odd, I suppose, but still, I think there's loads of space around here to put your things. Wireless charging in there, nice and neat. It all feels a bit different, a bit fresh for Toyota, a bit of a new era for them, but easy to use, comfortable, and I think everybody's going to like it. So I actually think the Skoda's got a slightly nicer feeling interior than the Toyota. It's similarly got sort of textile finishes, nice and tactile, feels well put together. I think partly the reason I prefer this is just because it's a bit lighter, because it's got some lighter finishes up here, whereas the Toyota feels very dark. But generally, still really easy to use, feels really good quality, really nice comfortable driving position that I think anybody's going to get comfortable in. So you've got your electric adjustment down here too, and your lumbar adjustment, which is good. And yeah, it's a really nice comfortable place. I think the visibility in here is slightly better than the Toyota too. Now, infotainment. Look, we all know that a lot of people have had serious woes with the modern Volkswagen Group infotainment system, myself included, because I really have an issue with so much sort of touch-sensitive stuff, particularly in the Volkswagen versions. The Skoda's actually, I find, the easiest to use. It does have a touch-sensitive volume control. I don't find that too difficult to avoid. Plus, the screen itself, I find it starts pretty quickly, it reacts quickly enough, the graphics are really good, it's got all the features you want. You get this massive screen. I actually really quite like it, so I don't mind it at all. I do find that having climate control buttons separate as you do in the Toyota is slightly easier, and maybe the general layout of the Toyotas is perhaps a fraction easier. So shockingly, given Toyota's history for actually having quite poor infotainment, I'm going to say that the Skoda has slightly the better interior, but I think Toyota takes it slightly for user-friendliness with infotainment. Charging is still a major concern for many buyers, so it's good to know that both the Toyota and the Skoda charge via CCS sockets, which are compatible with the vast majority of public charging stations across the UK and Europe. Plug into a fast enough rapid charger and you'll get charging speeds of up to 150 kilowatts from the Toyota, while the Skoda tops out at 120 kilowatts for the small battery car, or 135 kilowatts for the big battery that we're testing here. That means a 100-mile top-up in around 15 minutes for the Toyota, or more like 18 to 20 minutes for the Skoda. Plug into a 7 kilowatt home wall box and you'll have a full charge in some 13 hours for the Skoda, or more like 11 to 12 hours for the Toyota. So before I talk about how the BZ4X drives, I want to talk about some of the other sensible buying stuff that you might want to know, because one of the reasons that lots of people buy Toyotas is reliability. And, well, they're quite right to, because Toyota's got an extraordinary reputation for reliability, and rightly justified as well, because, you know, you look at all of the owner surveys for decades now and Toyota always tops it. And not only that, but in recent years they've brought out an extended warranty. So if you take this car to a Toyota dealer to be serviced every year, this thing's warranted for 10 years and 100,000 miles. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? 10 years. So that's really, really good, and that's compared to the Skoda, which has a standard sort of 3-year, 60,000 mile warranty. Both cars have their high voltage batteries warranted for 8 years and 100,000 miles, by the way, as is fairly standard now in the industry for most electric cars. Some cars are actually having longer warranties than that for their batteries now. So in terms of warranty and other reasons that you might buy the Toyota, beyond, you know, the infotainment, practicality and all of that stuff, that warranty, it's a really persuasive one, isn't it? Towing is a big thing for electric cars these days, because electric cars are historically not very good at it, because it does really affect the range. They're getting there. It's not really what it needs to be still, but it is getting there. And the Toyota, well, that can tow up to 750 kilograms. The Skoda will actually do a ton, so that's not too bad. Still not brilliant compared to your diesels and this kind of thing that can do much higher tow capacities. But that's another improvement that we're seeing. So, you know, inch by inch, I think hopefully there is going to be a solution for the towing community eventually. And other than that, well, it is just a really nice thing to drive. It's very relaxed, very chilled. I like the fact that there's no sporting pretensions. You haven't got your sport modes, there's none of the, you know, big red lit dials and all of that stuff. It's just being a comfortable, sensible car. It does do 0 to 62 in 7.5 seconds. It will do 6.9 seconds actually if you get the four-wheel drive version, which gets a little bit more power. This is 201 brake, front-wheel drive, and is everything that you need. Even in the damp conditions, it's been really wet here, well, for about a month now. It's been like monsoon season in the UK. Traction's absolutely fine. I really like it. It's very quiet, really good on the motorway. The ride comfort, so this test car is on 18-inch wheels. If you go for one of the two higher specs above Motion, you get 20-inch wheels as standard, and I have not driven the Toyota on those, but I reckon that this is another reason to stick with this slightly lower spec Motion, because you get those smaller wheels. I know it looks a bit funny on it, doesn't it? It's like it's on sort of, it's like it's on casters or something rather than proper wheels. So maybe the aesthetics aren't too great, but certainly ride comfort's very good. Apart from, if you get kind of like undulations, like high frequency undulations, that seems to unsettle it a bit. You get a bit of patter. It just doesn't quite ever sort of settle down over it. It's almost like if it's a constant kind of undulation ongoing, then the dampers don't ever get time to sort themselves out and settle down. But honestly, 95% of the time, if not more, the Toyota feels really good. And it handles quite nicely too. So you got this, I don't like quite how fat the steering wheel is, but you turn it into a corner and it's got quite a nice turn in it. It feels quite quick. There isn't much sort of sense of feedback or feel to the steering. It's quite anodyne, I have to say, and quite light. But actually, the way the car handles corners, the way it sort of tucks in, you get a nice sense for you know, how much grip there is at least. It's really not bad, you know, even if there's bumps in the middle of the corner, everything just feels, I suppose the word is, well, stoic. It's just exactly what you want it to be. I wouldn't say that it's got much kind of vim or vigour to the handling, but it does the job really nicely. It's just a comfortable, very chilled, very relaxed, sensible car. And that's exactly what most people are going to want from this, isn't it? So I think that Toyota have kind of hit the nail on the head with that. So I have to say that in essence, the Skoda is actually a very similar car to the Toyota to drive in that it's just very comfort oriented. It's very refined. Electric cars have that sort of very delicious, smooth, seamless build of power. It's very easy to modulate that. This Enyaq test car, so the Loft, has got 20-inch wheels on it, but I still think the ride comfort is really good in the Enyaq, and I have driven this with smaller wheels, and I think it's pretty much on a par with the Toyota actually. So if I have any advice, it's stick with smaller wheels if you can. But even on the bigger wheels, it looks better, I think, than the Toyota. Although both of these cars, especially in these grey colours that we've got here, they're kind of much of a muchness for styling, aren't they? They're both sort of angular, swoopy, futuristic looking cars, and yeah, I don't know. They're both perfectly inoffensive, but also kind of a bit forgettable, I have to say, maybe. Anyway, that's what it is really. Just pick the one that you like the look of best. In terms of the driving, I'd say that the Skoda's on a par with the Toyota, like I said, and steering definitely a bit better. So it's just got a bit more sense of what's going on, I think, a bit more feedback. It's slightly more heavily weighted. In the Skoda, you do have the various drive modes. Again, I don't really think you need the sportier one. I think it's just fine in normal or, you know, eco, and live with it like that. It's really nice, really, really easygoing, chilled, and yet it does have enough satisfaction on a good road that you can kind of, you know, enjoy some decent sweeping corners. It feels nicely put together and nicely balanced. Both the Skoda and the Toyota, of course, come with a full complement of all of your safety stuff. So you get your adaptive cruise control, your lane keep assist, and also all of that combines to create a sort of semi-autonomous drive system, which includes traffic, stop and go, so it senses the car in front. And you know, it's very accomplished in both of these cars. I don't think you can quibble with the safety systems at all. I would also say, so brake regen in both of these cars is quite mild. Neither of them really has a one pedal brake system. In the Toyota you can press a button and increase it a little bit. Without that on, actually, it's barely got any brake regen at all. The Skoda is similar, or you can put it into B down here, and that makes it quite a bit stronger. In fact, I'd say that's stronger than the Toyotas. So both of them very easy to get used to, very smooth, and all that does is improve the efficiency, especially when you're around town. A lot of people that drive electric cars like to have heavier brake regen. I'm very used to brake regen, so I quite like having it quite heavy. When it comes to real-world range, we achieved exactly the same efficiency in the Skoda as we did in the Toyota, meaning 3 miles per kilowatt hour, which equates to a real-world range of 230 miles per charge. That's not bad in wintry conditions. We would expect that to drop slightly towards 200 miles or even slightly less in extremely cold temperatures, while slower stuff and in the summer, when EVs are at their most efficient, well, that will see the range in the Skoda creep to over 300 miles. So which one of these two cars is best then? Well, we're going to give it to the Skoda, but only by a fraction. The Toyota really is an excellent option in this class, and this is one of those tests where it comes down to if you can find the right sort of monthly deal for you on the Toyota, then do go for it. But the Skoda is likely to cost a bit less on list price, and not only that, but we really value the bigger boot, slightly better handling and a slightly nicer and brighter interior. As a first foray into the electric SUV classes, Toyota's is a really excellent one, but the Skoda Enyaq remains our favourite. Don't forget to head to CarGurus.co.uk for a whole host of really fantastic used cars. We will even tell you if it's a good deal or not. And while we've got you, please do like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any of our videos.